A retired elementary school principal, someone who'd spent 35 years being the sharpest person in every room she walked into, sat in Judge Judy's courtroom being told she couldn't remember her own financial decisions. She knew exactly what she'd agreed to. She just couldn't prove it. Until a stranger from another state called in and said the exact same sentence back to her, word for word. What happened in that courtroom became one of the most shared clips in Judge Judy history because nobody expected the plaintiff's own words to be repeated back to him by someone he'd never even mentioned. If you believe people who gaslight the elderly deserve to be exposed on camera, hit that subscribe button. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Eleanor Voss, 69, had retired 2 years earlier after 3.5 decades running an elementary school. She was suing her former financial advisor, Pellman, for $42,000, money she said had been moved into high-risk investments without her informed consent, money that had been nearly halved by the time she noticed. "Miss Voss, tell me what happened," Judge Judy said. Eleanor's voice was measured, precise, the voice of someone used to being believed. "Your Honor, I hired Mr. Pellman 18 months ago to manage my retirement savings conservatively. I was very clear about that in our first meeting. Conservative, low risk, because this money needs to last the rest of my life. 6 months in, I noticed unusual losses. When I asked him about it, he told me we discussed shifting to a more aggressive strategy together, in a meeting I have no memory of ever happening." Craig answered smoothly, his tone patient, almost gentle. "Your Honor, I understand this is upsetting for Miss Voss, but we absolutely did have that conversation. It happened during a phone call in March, not an in-person meeting, which might be part of the confusion. Markets fluctuate. I explained the risks clearly at the time. I have call logs showing we spoke for 22 minutes that day." "I remember that call," Eleanor said sharply. "We discussed my quarterly statement, nothing more." Craig's expression stayed calm, sympathetic even. "Miss Voss, I understand how disorienting it can be when investments move in ways we don't expect. It's a lot of information to track, and honestly, it's common for the details of a call from 8 months ago to blur together. I'm not saying that unkindly." The words landed softly, almost kindly, which made them worse. A few people in the gallery shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether they were watching genuine concern or something else entirely. "Do you have documentation of this conversation, Mr. Pellman? Notes, a follow-up email, anything in writing confirming the change in strategy?" "I have my own internal notes from that call," Craig said, producing a single typed page. "I do try to send follow-up summaries, but I'll admit, with a full client roster, that doesn't always happen for every call." "Convenient," Eleanor murmured. "Miss Voss, I know it feels that way, but I promise you, I would never make a decision this significant without your approval. I care about my clients, especially ones like you, who remind me so much of my own mother." Before we hear from someone who wasn't even supposed to be in this case, hit subscribe if you haven't yet, because what she says next changes everything about how this looks. Judge Judy glanced down at a note the bailiff had handed her. "Mr. Pellman, I understand Miss Voss's daughter reached out to my office before this hearing. She mentioned another woman had contacted her directly, someone she found through an online complaint forum. That woman is joining us now, by video." The courtroom monitor came to life. An older woman, silver-haired, sitting in what looked like a sunlit kitchen in another state, appeared on screen. "Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Ruth Acoffer. I live in Ohio." Craig's easy composure faltered for the first time, just slightly. "Miss Acoffer, do you know Mr. Pellman?" Judge Judy asked. "He managed my late husband's pension rollover for about a year. Nearly the same thing happened to me. I asked for conservative investments. Within 7 months, I'd lost almost 30% of it. When I confronted him, he told me we'd discussed shifting to a more aggressive strategy during a phone call I have no memory of ever happening." Eleanor's breath caught audibly. "Miss Acoffer, do you recall anything specific he said to you during that conversation?" Judge Judy asked. Ruth nodded slowly. "I wrote it down afterward because it bothered me so much. He said, word for word, 'I understand how disorienting it can be when investments move in ways we don't expect. It's a lot of information to track.'" The courtroom went completely silent. Eleanor turned slowly to look at Craig, her earlier composure cracking into something closer to disbelief. "That's just a phrase I use to be reassuring," Craig said, his voice tightening. "I talk to a lot of anxious clients. Some phrases repeat naturally." Word for word, Mr. Pellman, the exact same sentence told to two different women in two different states, both times right after they questioned a decision they don't remember approving? Craig's composure was slipping now, the gentle tone replaced with something more defensive. "Your Honor, with respect, financial strategy is complicated. I'm not sure a courtroom is really the place to evaluate investment decisions made in good faith by a licensed professional." "I'm not evaluating your investment strategy, Mr. Pellman," Judge Judy said evenly. "I'm evaluating whether you told two grieving, aging clients that their own memories couldn't be trusted so that you could avoid accountability for decisions you made without their consent." Craig said nothing for a long moment. When he spoke again, something in his voice had changed, quieter, almost tired. "I have a lot of clients, and not enough hours to properly document every call the way I should. Sometimes I move funds because I genuinely believe it's the smarter play, and I tell myself I'll explain it later, and later doesn't always come. I never meant for anyone to think I was calling them confused. I just needed them to stop asking questions I didn't want to answer." It was the closest thing to an honest sentence he'd said all hearing, and it seemed to surprise him even. "That's the most truthful thing you've said today, and it's also the most damning," Judge Judy said. "You didn't accidentally repeat a phrase. Mr. Pellman, you have a script because this works often enough that you've used it more than once." Judge Judy set down her folder. "Judgment for the plaintiff, Miss Eleanor Voss, in the amount of $42,000 for the unauthorized losses to her account, plus $6,000 in fees for the independent financial review she had to commission to untangle your records. $48,000 total, payable immediately. I'm also forwarding Miss Acoffer's testimony and this case file to the State Financial Licensing Board for review of your license." The gavel struck. Ruth, still on screen, gave Eleanor a small nod, and Eleanor returned it, something between them settling, the quiet relief of two people who each spent months wondering if they'd imagined the whole thing. "Miss Voss, you knew what you agreed to. You were right to trust your own memory." "Thank you, Your Honor. For 35 years, I taught children to trust facts over feelings. It was strange being on the other end of that." Craig's advisory license was suspended pending the board's review 3 weeks later. Eleanor and Ruth kept in contact after the hearing, comparing notes with two other former clients who'd reached out once the story circulated locally. Eleanor used part of her settlement to finally take the trip to Portugal she and her late husband had always planned, something she said she'd been too anxious about her finances to consider before the case was resolved. Court is adjourned. Do you think Judge Judy's verdict was fair, or should financial advisors face criminal charges for this kind of manipulation, not just licensing consequences? Let me know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because next week, another case is going to shock you even more.